Adding color, incredible texture and shape with 3D embossing folders, coordinating dies and stencils is super easy and fun. Let me show you some ideas using elegant bows by Altenew. Hi there, this is Bibi Cameron, and here I have the Elegant Bows 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to emboss a piece of Nina white cardstock. This is 80 pounds, just under 250 grams. And I like to use this type of paper because it doesn't crack and it provides a beautiful embossed image. This paper is also great for coloring, so it will help us with the next step, that is adding inks through the 4 layers of the coordinating stencils. And for that, I'm only going to use 2 ink colors, Hunter Green and Green Opal, and I apply different pressure on the brush, so I get lighter areas here and there, and the darker ink color will help me to add shadows and interest to the images. If you finish or you have used the 4 layers of the stencil and you see that your image is a little bit flat, I will advise you to grab 2 of the stencils, the ones that has larger gaps or larger areas, and apply a hint of the darker ink at the center of each gap or each negative space. That will allow you to give a more dimensional look and feel to your images, in this case are bows, so that really will help to get a more eye-catching composition. So you can create a monochromatic composition like that one, or you can also apply different ink colors through different apertures of the stencil to create a multicolor background. And because I was thinking about festive cards, I use red and green, but you can use any color you might like to create cards for any occasion. The only thing here is that I also applied a darker ink color of the colors I was using at the center of the image to add interest, contrast, and dimension. And I use a post-it note to avoid transferring green ink over red areas and vice versa. And to clean the stencils, I'm using Surgical Spirit. This in the UK is similar to rubbing alcohol, and you can find it in any pharmacy, but it's very hard to find rubbing alcohol. So it works like a charm, and I'm tapping or dabbing the ink off the stencil instead of rubbing it too much to avoid damaging the stencils. So that's it. I wanted to share that tip, and I also was wondering if I could achieve the same look and feel by using just ink over the embossed image. And as you see there, it's not really that possible. You might need to add color to each individual bow using a marker or a detail coloring tool or something like that. As I have the stencils, I decided to use them again just to add color to some of the bows in this panel, and then I use gold ink over these images just to highlight those raised areas. And using the coordinating die that is absolutely awesome, it will cut several bows in one go. I create these little bows that could be absolutely gorgeous to add on wreaths. This could be seasonal, could be Easter, autumn, or Christmas. You can also add them on little die-cut presents or little die-cut baskets. Well, the sky's the limit. And as you see there, I also emboss and die-cut champagne gold mirror cardstock using the bow embossing folder and the die. And I use those bows at the back of these colored bows. You can use them just metallic, but I think that adds a beautiful finishing to these little bows. So that's how we can create small decorative elements for our projects using the same supplies. I also was wondering, okay, what happens if I emboss dark cardstock and I apply any of the metallic Altenew inks over the whole thing? And I really love this look and feel. It's something I tend to do a lot. However, I have the feeling that I don't want to cover this because it's beautiful as it is. So if I'm going to do anything on top of any of these panels, it has to be something that doesn't cover my work. And that's the next idea I'm going to share with you. It's very simple and very basic. So we are going to trim the panels a little bit to be able to add a matte layer behind. It could be mirror cardstock or a dark cardstock color. And then we are going to adhere the panels to the card bases. I still was feeling that something was missing on these panels, so I decided to carefully add gold ink over the raised areas of the embossed image, and look at that. It really made the image pop. Now, because I don't want to cover any of that, I'm going to use one of these large sentiments. This is great because only cut 2 pieces, so it's very easy to put together. And the dies also include a backing plate that I'm going to cut using acetate. I like to use lightweight acetate because it's easier to die cut, and I also like to add to the die cut sandwich a metal chim. There are different metal chim brands. You have Gemini, Samus Stamp, Tonic Studios, that is a very thick one. Any of these will work. You just need to place it underneath the acetate, and because I cannot see the acetate really once it's there, I like to use a piece of tape just to hold things in place. If the tape gets stuck to the acetate, carefully remove it. Avoid scratching the acetate. We need this piece to be crystal clear. And to add paper on acetate, I like to use Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I use a tiny amount of the glue, and I allow the glue to dry a little bit. We are waiting for that to happen here, maybe 10 seconds. And then we are going to align and carefully place the die cut over the acetate without making any pressure. A very gentle touch is needed there. We don't want the glue to smear towards the sides of the die cut, smearing all over the acetate, because that might not look nice. And even though we could clean it with a wipe, it's not ideal. So once we have all glued in place, we are going to use Altenew Instant Dimension foam tape, the green one, that has the perfect thickness and width for this kind of projects. And I'm going to trim it down or chop little pieces to add behind this die cut. And of course, behind the paper die cut, so we won't be able to see it at the front. And I show you that in 1 second. So you can see that none of that tape is shown at the front. And all we have to do is to place these over our cards, and those cards are finished. As simple as that. I know that to get here, I show you many other things, but these are quick and easy projects that you can mass produce, and you can also customize for any occasion. I also love to make 3D projects, so I cut 2 pieces of cardstock that measures 5 inches 3/4, and I score at 1 inch all around the edges to create a little box. Just to keep it simple, both pieces measures the same and they are scored in the same exact way. The next thing I'm going to do is to cut the paper like so to create the side panels. Now we need to fold the paper to shape that box, and at the corners, those little slats are what we call the gluing tabs. They could be left like they are, like square, or we can also make diagonal cuts to shape them and to reduce the bulkiness of those flaps. I will advise to do that so our box looks a lot better. All we have to do is to glue this in place to shape that 3-dimensional box, and we are going to adhere the box base first. And we are going to use the box base. This white piece here has a guide or a mold for the box lid. We need to make sure that the lid will fit that box base or the box will close. So that's how we do it when we start crafting with pieces that are the same size. There is another way to do it, but this is the easiest. And all you have to do is to make sure that all the sides are perfectly glued and that the lid fit perfectly on the box base. So the next thing I'm going to do is to emboss a piece of cardstock using the Elegant Bows embossing folder. Again, I'm going to use gold ink over this piece, and I'm going to adhere this piece over the box. You can just leave it like that. That's a box itself. You can add a ribbon or something and the box will look beautiful. But as I have been experimenting with different Altenew dies, I have a bunch of little die cuts left from those experiments. So I decided to put together this little tag, super easy. And I use zero waste ornamental winter pattern for the flower and some of the branches. Also zero waste berries and branches die set for the larger branches. And one of these nesting slim labels. I think it's the smaller one. Yes, it's the smaller die in this set. Absolutely gorgeous. I should use that one more. And as you see there, it's just a very simple little gift box. Now, I want to share with you another card sample completely different that can be customized for different occasions as well. So I first die cut all the flowers out of buttercream cardstock. It's a beautiful yellow cardstock, perfect base for ink blending. And then I'm going to add 3 different ink colors. You can see the name of the ink in the screen. And the aim here is to darken the color a little bit more and a little bit more, achieving that color degradation that is very beautiful for paper craft projects. So once we have all the pieces color, we are going to adhere this together. And here I have 3 flowers. Each flower has 2 pieces, and they also have a keyhole system that allow me to easily put this together, from the petals to the central pieces. I have to say that I'm getting blind. I don't know what is going on with my eyes. So I'm just trying to align this my best, and if I can just get it completely right, it's okay. These flowers are stunning. And a curious detail about this die set is that it's under $10, and look at these flowers. And there is a promotion right now on the Altenew website, and you can get this die set for free with certain orders. So have a look. Now, you have seen all those leaves that I have on my table. I'm going to add a hint of color on the center of each die cut. This is something I always do. I think it changed the look and feel of the die cuts, and you can see here what I mean. And to add a little bit of contrast, I die cut them out of different cardstock colors. You can see all those supplies used in the blog. The link is in the video description. Now, I'm going to glue this over a die cut circle frame. You can do this in different sizes if you want to. This one here is about 4 inches. And I added a little bit of glue just to hold those die cuts in place and to allow me to slit or add more leaves on there. So this is what I got at the moment. We can see the die cut frame at the back. We will cover that later, don't worry. So I was thinking that this red bow that we made before, it doesn't match with those yellow flowers for some reason. So I wanted to add blue and purple colors to one of those red bows. I also trimmed the white edge, and I glued this over a golden bow just to make the same thing that I did before, but just to alter that red color. Just because I thought that this color matched better with the yellow. See the difference? Same thing. So I'm going to add it there, and I'm going to stick the flowers, and I'm going to trim individual leaves from the branches I got left. I'm going to shape them, and I'm going to glue them on the areas I can see the backing frame. So in this way we get a very nice wreath, and this look a lot more filled, and it's so easy to do. So you can stick this over white, but I wanted to go extra mile and I wanted to create a background. So for that I'm going to use Caribbean Sky cardstock. I initially thought, okay, I'm going to rub a little bit of ink over this panel just to give it a texture or something like that, but I changed my mind. Then I say, okay, I'm going to add the ink over the embossing folder, and I'm using here Eastern Sky ink, and I'm going to run this through the die cutting machine. So at first we don't have that backing panel completely covered, so we are going to repeat the process once or twice until we are happy with the color and until we can see those images popping out of that background. We need to see that definition. And to add a really magical touch, we are going to use Altenew white ink. This is absolutely gorgeous. Look at that. Just by adding this ink, it rescues all those details, all the highlights, and also add a beautiful soft look and feel. Now I'm going to adhere the wreath over this background panel, and I'm using glue just at the back of that circle frame, and I'm going to use dimensional foam pads at the back of the leaves to respect and to keep the dimensional aspect of this wreath. Then with the perfect picker, I'm going to try to round this bow a little bit, and I'm going to apply dark blue ink at the edges of the panel. And I'm being very careful so I don't add any of the ink on the flowers or the leaves. To finish, I think this benefit from some sparkle, so I'm going to splatter some gold sparkle base. I'm putting some of the base on the glass mat. With a brush, I lift that from the mat, and with any hard tool, I tap the brush so I get very little speckles of that sparkle base on the leaves and the flowers. And this is totally optional, but I want to show you here a close-up and how this product performs, and it's just beautiful. We need to add a sentiment in the center of the wreath and glue this onto a card base. I choose this little sentiment. I die cut 3 layers of cardstock to create it, and also an acetate backing as I showed you before. So all we have to do is to stick this in the center, and I also decided to add these purple pearls here and there. So I made little clusters of 3, and I adhere them using Nuvo Deluxe adhesive. I think this is a nice finishing touch that also coordinates with the color of the bow, and in that way we get a more harmonic composition and we kind of bring everything together. In card making, it's never the big aspects of the card that make the difference. It's all the little details, the inked edge, the splatters, the metallic accents, the embellishments, the transparencies. And let me show you the die set that I used to create the sentiment. It's called Timeless Sentiments 2, and it has huge sentiments. So I use the smaller one here because those larger sentiments won't fit my design. From the Zero Waste Autumn Leaves die, I use only these 2 leaves to create the wreath, and I also use circle dies that you might have. So those are all the projects I made for today, and I also have another project made using elegant bows for the background. I also use new dies from Altenew and relief-based coloring. I'm preparing the video. I hope to have it soon on my YouTube channel. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Do not forget to subscribe to this channel or visit the blog for more ideas and inspiration. Thank you very much for watching, and happy crafting. Bye.
Wait, we have more where that came from. If you're after fabulous card making tutorials, you are definitely in the right spot. Our amazing design team create and upload fabulous video tutorials right to this YouTube channel. If you don't want to miss another amazing crafting tutorial, don't forget to subscribe and click that fun red button that you can see. Let's become paper crafting experts together.